Hi there, I'm Cailen Ascher, and these are the Clarity Confessions. Every show, I sit down with top female entrepreneurs and get them to confess their best and most inspiring secrets for creating soulfully expansive success on their terms. If you're ready for a heaping dose of clarity, inspiration, and feel-good strategies to move you forward in life and business, get ready. It's time for our next confession. Today on the show, we have Breanne Dyck. She is the founder and lead consultant at MNIB Consulting, which helps online training businesses to scale their impact, their team, and their revenue by blending operations management, learning and product strategy, and business model development. Her results-driven strategies help thought leaders and influencers like Chris Guillebeau, Natalie Sisson, and Tara Gentili maximize referrals, retention, and repeat buyers by creating transformational learning experiences that customers can't stop talking about. Her book, Beyond Satisfaction, is now available on Amazon. Hey, Breanne, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to dive in and to learn from you. And I'd love to just jump off with the question of, how did you get started on this entrepreneurial path that you're on?
You know, kind of by accident. It all started when I was actually working in higher ed. I was working at a technical college, and as happens, I did a good job and got promoted. And I quickly realized that the higher I went into the bureaucracy of this large educational institution, the less I was enjoying myself. So I decided, you know what? I'd been doing web design on the side for a number of years, just, a little bit of extra income, something to express my creativity amongst all the administration work that I was doing in higher ed. And I thought, you know what, why don't I give this a try? Maybe if I tried this, I could actually make a living kind of doing stuff on my own. And so I did. And, there was a whole bunch of stuff that went into that decision. But I figured I'd give it a try. And like so many people who decide they're going to start a business, especially an online business, I realized I had no idea what I was doing. So I was looking and I was saying, oh, look at all these great online courses. I'm going to take some of them. And I did. And what I realized is that some of them were fantastic and some of them were not so fantastic. And it took probably about a year, maybe even 2 years, as I was, trying to do the web design thing. And this just kept sticking in my brain. I was like, there's so much potential. There's so much, me as a student, I feel like there's so much potential for me to be learning, and my business could be so much further ahead of where it is. But these courses just aren't helping. And so, I was kind of at my last straw. I was at the point where it's like, I need to either figure this out or go back to the day job. And I decided I was going to do one last course. I was going to take one last course. And I enrolled in it. It was a beta. So, the person who was offering the course said, we want your feedback and that sort of thing. And I remember I was so excited. I bought the course. It was going to be dripped out, over a number of weeks. And I took the course and I was so excited. And I blazed through the first module. And then I got to the end and I was like, that's it? And I was so disappointed. But in that moment, I knew I had a choice, because this was my moment. This was my choice of whether this was going to work or not. And I realized I could either do what would feel easy, and I could kind of pack up my bags and say, all right, guess this isn't for me. Or I could take action on this thing that had been bugging me for so long, and I could reach out to the person who created that course and say, hey, this is a beta. Are you interested in feedback from someone that knows a little bit, at least, about how people learn and how to take your course and make it actually remarkable? And for whatever reason, to protect the innocent, I won't say who it was, but they said yes. And that just changed everything, where all of a sudden I realized that I didn't have to just be sitting idly by. I could actually be getting in there, getting my hands dirty. And now, we've gotten to the point in the business where we have a team of people that are all working together to help these online business owners not just put out courses that make you feel like that was it, but instead the kind of courses that can really create massive transformational impact.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I love that this business was born out of something you were seeing a need for and desiring for yourself these transformational courses that just weren't delivering. And now you're in there making it happen. That's so cool. And I love when entrepreneurs have stories like that. So I'd love to now move into some rapid fire questions about your business, just to kind of warm things up before our conversation. Are you ready for them?
Let's do it.
Okay. So can you describe your business in 10 words or less?
We help owners scale their world-class online training businesses.
Very nice. Why do you love your work?
Because I get to make my clients look like rock stars to their customers.
What makes you feel the most successful?
When I get the chance to connect the dots and put puzzle pieces together between wildly different ideas.
What personal practices or self-care do you make time for regularly?
I'm a novice martial arts student.
What is the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
I love that making things happen is all up to me.
And what is the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur?
That making things happen is all up to me.
It's always a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Last question. What is one word that sums up your business mission?
Excellence.
Oh, that's a good one. I don't think I've had anyone say that before. I like that a lot.
It's my favorite word. Actually, it's my second favorite word. My favorite word is perspicacious, but no one knows what that means, so I just say excellence.
So what does perspicacious mean? I don't think I know.
So perspicacious is actually a word that I discovered when I was trying to figure out what the unique value is that I bring when I'm working with clients. And what it means is when you're perspicacious, you have the ability to have quick, discerning insight into a situation. So you don't need a whole lot of explanation or context or that kind of thing. You see something, you hear something, and you instantly have just this really keen insight. That's perspicacious.
Oh, so hopefully as a clarity coach, I am perspicacious then. I'm able to offer that. I don't know if I'll be using that word in my marketing. I don't know if anyone would, if it would resonate, but it's good to know. So, do you mind sharing, just what did your first year with this business really look like?
It was interesting because, I told a little bit of the story of how this business came to be. And I was actually talking with my accountant the other day, and he said, "So how long have you been in business?" And I said, "Well, I don't really know how to answer that question because this business has been in constant evolution." And so, the first year in business, if we're talking full time, I was doing web development, and it looked like a struggle to get clients. It looked like I didn't even know where to go or where to turn. I also kind of say, my business changed and pivoted 2 years ago or so. So maybe I had a second first year in business. Mm-hmm. And that was where, all of a sudden I saw this need. As we talked about, I saw this need, and I started to make connections with people in my industry. And it was a whole lot of just trying to figure out the way they think and what they really need. Because just because I saw this need didn't mean that I saw that what I saw was what other people saw. And so it was a lot of trying to figure out, how can I take what I know to be true and make it seem and feel relevant to the other people, the people I want to serve. Mm-hmm. And so, there was a lot of missteps. There were clients that I tried to work with that actually didn't end up paying me. That was painful. Because I didn't know how to set up client expectations. I didn't know about creating contracts or that sort of thing. There were clients that I worked with that I shouldn't have worked with. It was terrible fit for the relationship. And there were a lot of nights when I wondered, is it worth it? But what I noticed, because I'm a very reflective person, what I noticed was that when I took the time to reflect back on how far I'd come, I was always learning something from the good and the bad, and that made it easier to move forward, to have those conversations, to get people clicking. We mentioned Tara Gentili in the bio. Near the end of that first year of this kind of pivoted business, Tara actually reached out to me and said, I would like to work with you. And that was the moment when I knew that all of that work I'd been doing, all of the struggles, all of the missteps, all of the errors had been worth it, because I had caught the attention of someone who to me was, way up on a pedestal. And she wanted to come to me because she recognized that I had value to provide.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, it just shows where perseverance kind of pays off when we keep showing up and keep putting ourselves out there, that the wins do come and those breakthroughs do come. And when they do, it makes everything else that much more worthwhile and makes you feel like you're actually making some headway. So good for you for sticking with it, because so many people, they don't make it through that first year. And
it's interesting. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, not at all.
Because one of the things that I love reading about, I love learning about why people learn, but that's just a way of thinking about psychology. How can we get people to do things differently? Why are they doing the things they do? And one of the things that I've learned for myself, especially in the last, I'd say 6 or 12 months, is whenever we set a goal for ourselves, there's a lot of talk out there about, goal setting and making plans and breaking it down into bite-sized actions. But one of the most important things I've found is realizing that in order to achieve a goal, there's going to be a cost to that commitment. And that cost might be a cost of time or energy or money, but sometimes the cost is of discomfort. And that's been the hardest thing for me to learn, is that sometimes for me to get where I want to go, I have to be willing to pay the cost of being uncomfortable in the moment. And that's where the perseverance for me has come from, because if I can decide up front, I know that I'm going to be uncomfortable, I'm choosing to pay that cost, then when I get confronted with that moment of, oh my God, I don't know that I want to do this, I've already made the decision that that's a cost I'm going to pay. And so perseverance becomes a given, not something that I have to decide in the moment. It's no longer willpower as much as this is the cost. I know this is the cost. I'm going to pay the cost.
I love thinking about it like that, because so many people, they deal with the discomfort on the back end rather than kind of meeting it head on. And, they say, oh, I want change. I want things to be different. I want to move forward in this way. And then that discomfort comes in and the resistance comes in, and they're ready to throw in the towel because it freaks them out, essentially. Yeah. And, I'm sure we've all heard a quote or the version of this quote where, like, you want to keep on getting what you're getting, keep on doing what you're doing. And change is uncomfortable. And until we kind of wrap our heads around that and make a decision, like you say you do, to move forward, it can keep you stuck right where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely.
So reflecting back, I mean, you mentioned some tough things that you encountered in that first year. Is there like a single moment, an obstacle, or maybe something that felt like a failure or a big setback at the time that in retrospect you really learned so much from and are almost thankful that it came your way in your business?
Yeah, I mentioned the one that I would probably point to when I was going through what that first year was like, and that was, actually I didn't learn the lesson at once. So I took a client, again, relatively big name in the industry, someone that I looked up to, someone that I look at from a distance. I've been following their blog, following their work. I was a big fan, so excited to have a chance to work with this individual. And we got to working together, and, I just jumped right in because I wanted to make a good impression, wanted to just, blow him away. And ended up, we didn't have a contract, and ended up that I was partially paid, but I wasn't really compensated for the work that I had done. And that didn't feel very good. But apparently I hadn't learned my lesson at that point. I needed more time to reflect, maybe, because about a year after that point, the same individual came back to me and said, I would like to work on this project with you. I'm really excited about it. We're going to do this, the other thing. And we'll make sure that you're compensated and blah, 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 blah. And I said, great, this is going to be amazing. So excited, still starry-eyed, apparently. So did the project, worked on the project, got to the end of the project, followed up, a week or two later and said, hey, we need to talk about, where's my money kind of thing. And this individual said, well, unfortunately, the project ended up losing money, and I don't have any money to pay you. And I was I was not upset. I was angry. I was very angry. But I was angry on the surface. I was angry at the other individual for, breaking a promise, but I was actually more angry with myself because I had now made the same mistake twice. I had now gone through the same thing, not set up details of what compensation was going to look like, not put a contract into place, not been clear on, the details. And I had really no one to blame but myself for that. And so that changed a lot, not only about, the actually solving that problem, making sure that before we start work, we know exactly what is going to be paid. In fact, most of the work I do now is prepaid, so there will not be a problem of not getting paid. If you want to work with me, you're going to pay ahead of time. But more than that, it really helped me to learn the importance of having and setting clear expectations and having and setting clear boundaries, not just for the sake of, myself and getting paid and all of that, but also to help the client feel like they're getting what they paid for. They're getting the value out of their experience. I still, in a lot of cases, work on more of a handshake deal with clients. We don't have big legal contracts and that sort of thing, but I'm much more careful before the engagement starts about being very clear about what are the roles, what are the responsibilities, how do we know what success looks like, how are we going to measure the value of that, and how are we going to package that all up in a way that I'm fairly compensated and the client is also in a position where they can expect to see a return on their investment.
I'm so glad you brought that up about, the lesson coming through and then it presenting itself again, because I think there's so many of us who have that same issue keep coming up in our business again and again and again. I mean, often it involves money. I think for a lot of women, that tends to be a place where, we get so excited or starry-eyed about the client or just want to serve them so well that, we kind of push the money issue under the rug and then it comes back to bite us. But I think we've all heard that, the lessons keep coming until we learn them. And so if there is something that, you listener out there are dealing with that keeps presenting itself, there might be something there to look into, learn from Breanne's experience here that she's sharing with us, because there's something that could probably be resolved and make your business feel a heck of a lot better if you worked on it.
And the other thing that really made a difference in terms of, setting those expectations, setting those boundaries, that kind of stuff, it might sound a little ridiculous, but as soon as I tripled my prices, a lot of those problems magically seemed to go away. But it was because there wasn't a fair exchange of value. I wasn't presenting what I had to provide, what I had to bring to the table as something that was worthy of the time and the energy and the high level of value. And so, when I think about this project, the second example that I gave, and they said, the project went over budget, we don't have money to pay you. I know that other people who worked on that project were paid. I've talked to them. I know they were paid. The difference is that I didn't position my work and my contribution as being significant enough value to make sure that I was also in that upper tier of people got paid. I allowed myself to be kind of shut off to the side. And as soon as I started to value my own contribution more, raise my prices as an indicator of that, and be more clear about what is actually going on here, that was when a lot of, things started to click. I got more clients as soon as I raised my prices. I got more of the right clients. One of the other challenges I talked about was I had worked in that first year, I worked for about 6 months with someone who wasn't a great client. Raised my prices. She wasn't willing to pay them. Got a whole bunch more clients in her place. And that was amazing. That was phenomenal.
That's really remarkable. I think, like I was saying before, money can bring up so many fear issues, and raising prices definitely can bring that up. But it really does, when you value yourself and make your own self-worth evident in what you're charging and communicate it obviously in the packages you're putting together as well, it really can transform things. It's cool, and I love that you said you got more clients when you raised your prices. I hope everyone heard you say that, because it really can happen that way. Really can. So one last question here that I think it would be a nice one to kind of land on at the end. Do you have a piece of advice that sticks out in your mind that you received from somebody wise, whether someone you know or in a book, that has kind of guided you on your entrepreneurial journey?
So many different pieces of advice. It's it's hard to choose just one. But the one I want to choose, the one I want to share, actually relates back to the conversation we were just having about value and valuing yourself. And it's a lesson that I actually learned from a client. And it was the lesson that value is in the eye of the beholder. Because I love that. And I think it solves so many challenges. You know, I work with a lot of people who build online courses, group coaching programs, that sort of thing. And they often struggle to figure out, you know, what's the end result that I'm trying to achieve? What's the transformation I'm trying to create? What does this thing look like? Whether that's, you know, to figure out what to put into their curriculum or how to market it or how to price it. And it comes back to this idea that value is in the eye of the beholder. And the reason that I say I learned that from a client is because I was actually working with a client to develop her course. I was running a group program at the time. So there was 5 or 6 people that I was working with to develop their online programs. And we got to the end of the program and we were talking about, you know, what do you do with feedback and how do you integrate that into your program and that sort of thing. And I asked the group, you know, share with me their feedback. And one of the gals said, you know, I took this course. When she started talking, got a little scared because she was one of those people that had never really been fully engaged. Like, she was kind of on the calls, but not really. She didn't come to all the calls. She didn't really I was kind of wondering why she was there. So when she opened her mouth to start to tell me her feedback, I was kind of like, uh-oh, here it comes. But what she said was, and I'm paraphrasing, but the gist of it was, she learned through my course that she developed her courses in a way that's very different to how I develop my courses. I tend to be more logical and structured, and I like systems and that kind of thing. And she tended to be a little bit more esoteric and you know, what feels right, that sort of thing. And she said, the lesson that she doesn't need to try and develop something more structured or whatever, because that wasn't natural for her. That lesson itself was worth the price of the course. She didn't learn the method that I wanted her to learn. She didn't learn the technique that I had hoped she would be able to apply. And she said, you know what, though? That was okay, because I learned something about myself. And it was valuable to me. It was valuable from my perspective because of that. And I've taken that lesson and I've turned it into that catchphrase, which is value is in the eye of the beholder, because it's so important when I'm looking at my clients, when I'm looking at my clients' clients, when I'm looking at how I engage with the world, I can bring as much value as I want, but the value also has to be received. And if the value isn't received, then I haven't really provided value for that person. So I either need to change what I'm providing or I need to change who I'm providing it to. But so long as you remember that value isn't something we create in abstract, it's created in the eyes of the people receiving it. For me, that's changed everything about how I approach what I'm creating, who I'm creating it for, how I show up in the world, because value is in the eye of the beholder.
Thank you for sharing that. That was very insightful and interesting also to hear that she moved through that program and didn't get out of it what you were hoping that she would. I think so many of us, you know, we come in with this very clear idea of what we're hoping our clients are going to receive, and to just be open to the fact that, like you said, the value is in their eyes, not just in ours, and that it's a two-way street, and that we're co-creating these experiences with our clients every step of the way.
Yeah.
So now that we're wrapping things up, is there, you know, thinking about what we talked about today, any any action step, any last bit of advice that you'd like to leave the listeners with or encourage them to pursue at this point?
I think it'd be fun. Yeah, let's have, all right, you guys, you're listening to this. We're going to give you a challenge. I want you to look at one of your products. I don't care which one. Take, your favorite. And I want you to mentally triple the price. If you're selling it for $300, now in your mind, it's $900. And I want you to ask yourself, what would have to be true about that product for my customer to feel that tripled price was the appropriate value exchange to buy that? Sometimes it might be that you have to add things to make it worth that tripled price. Sometimes it might be that you have to remove things to make it worth that tripled price. But I want you to think about that product, imagine it at a tripled price, and ask yourself what would have to be changed to make that a fair exchange of value. Then sleep on it. And then the next day decide whether or not you want to go ahead with it.
I love that. That's a fun one, because it
is.
It kind of just, it just expands the possibilities instantly. I mean, I kind of just quickly played through it in my own head, and it was exciting. It was exciting to think about. And I think anytime we can give ourselves little exercises like that actually have a practical application on the far side, it always is moving our business in the right direction. And so lastly, let us know where we can connect with you. What have you got going on?
Absolutely. So you can find me. My home base on the web is mnibconsulting.com. That's where we've got all of our articles and resources and all that kind of fun stuff. And then as we mentioned earlier on, I've also got a book that is fairly recently released on Amazon. It's called Beyond Satisfaction. And if you are creating courses, interested in creating courses or online programs, group coaching programs, that sort of thing, Beyond Satisfaction is really about that conversation of how do you create that sense of ultimate value for your customers through the training that you're providing. How can you increase your completion rate? How can you increase your impact? How can you get more people completing that course? So I'd really encourage you to head on over to Amazon, grab a copy of Beyond Satisfaction. Check us out at mnibconsulting.com as well. And yeah, I would love to see you in our world.
Fantastic. Breanne, thank you so much for sharing your stories and your advice and giving us a glimpse inside your business and what it took to get to where you are today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Do you ever feel like you don't know what you need to do to get to where you want to go? I feel you. I felt that way for years when I was on the serial entrepreneur roller coaster. If you're tired of feeling scattered and trying idea after idea without any clear plan for success, I have got exactly what you need. Seriously, this is something I wish I could have gotten my hands on when I was first starting out. I have created a super helpful plan book complete with an audio training to address this problem that plagues too many entrepreneurs. Say hello to your new best friend, the Vivid Vision Plan Book, which will enable you to transform your big vision into a clear plan of strategic action. Thanks to the very principles I share with you in the Vivid Vision Plan Book, I was able to cross the 6-figure mark in my business in just 10 months while working just 3 days a week. Creating a business you adore while living a fulfilling life that you love can be your reality too. But first, you have to crack the code for distilling your big vision into inspired action steps that consistently carry you forward. The Vivid Vision Plan Book will enable you to do exactly that, and it's being released in early April for the super duper affordable price of just $27. So if that's of interest to you, head on over to cailenascher.com/updates now and enter your name and email to be the first to know when it's available.